Welcome to this presentation on the digital book, an innovation now being introduced into the consumer market with great potential for increased learning in the classroom. The digital book is not so much an actual book, but information that has been put into digital form and archived for later use with a selected reader, such as a computer, laptop, or dedicated digital presentation device. The concept of the mass-produced book began with Gutenberg's printing press in the mid-1400s. This was the first attempt to archive knowledge and share it with large numbers by using a machine. Since that time, books have been a part of human culture. This includes the introduction of the paperback book to the American public in 1930, beginning a multi-billion-dollar industry. Little persuasion was needed to involve the middle-class American who was hungry for affordable material to read. Michael Hart actually made the first digital or e-book in 1971 when he made a digital copy of the Declaration of Independence. This simple act, which was not so simple at the time, gave impetus to the creation of Project Gutenberg, which was and still is an effort to digitally record all hard copy written material. Project Gutenberg is still very active in sharing digitally recorded materials to readers. In fact, the program shares out 20,000 free text and over 100,000 other titles through partner programs. Many of these titles are part of the over 3 million digital books downloaded by the American public every month. As the computer industry grew, so did many others, including digital books. Although started in the early 70s, digital books gained greatly in popularity around the turn of the century, with a multitude of formats and readers being introduced to support the medium. The growth of the digital book was fairly steady in the latter part of the 20th century. From its beginnings in 1971, jumping from DOS-based versions through HTML products, to being adopted by publishing companies that presented their own works in digital form, often providing a reader for their own formats. The 21st century opened with digital book reader applications being distributed without charge by the Glassbook project. In this brief span, many digital book readers have been presented to the public, including the Amazon Kindle and the Sony Reader. Most recently, new additions to the list of readers include the Macintosh iPhone and iPad and the Nook Reader from Barnes & Nobles. The competition for digital readers is fierce in that the industry is seen as an untapped, potentially lucrative area for marketing and investment. One might ask what educational or social needs the electronic book may address. For one, environmentalists see the digital book as a reprieve from many replaceable resources presently being mass-produced to meet the need for paper. Educators and researchers see the digital book as a response to the technological advance of our society. The readers of these books have the potential to increase connectivity with teachers and students, making the learning process more relevant and real-time compliant, as opposed to asynchronous learning. Younger educators now joining the academic workforce are thoroughly familiarized with the functional nature of the digital environment and are seen as progressive instructors. There are, however, those now within the system that may have difficulty embracing change in the form of new concepts and innovations, preferring to stay with more traditional methods as long as possible. Some very original thought may be needed to have the more stoic holdouts adopt the digital book so our classrooms can be moved into the 21st century. The concepts of connectivity, flexibility, and relativity must be compared to the attributes of the traditional text. The developing cultural aspects of our society should also be considered with the use of digital rather than traditional paper books. Research conducted with a digital format is faster, more accurate, and more dependable from multiple sources. In fact, the very first electronic books were used for information and research by groups with interests that were removed from the normal public wants and desires. This all changed when an influx of different readers and formats saturated the young market. The 90s saw a great surge in the amount of electronic information in digital book form. In fact, the general public was encouraged to use the digital books when public libraries began issuing free digital books for use with a reader. Although the traditional bound versions were available, many individuals chose the digital copy instead. Initially, the market for digital books was thought to be restricted to computer users. The market has grown to include every level of our society. The one great problem to develop from this rapid growth has been the multitude of different readers and formats available for use by consumers. The commercialization has become such that anyone with the equipment and knowledge can run a digital printing press, churning out finished products for public consumption. As with VHS versus Betamax and the HD CD versus the Blu-ray disc, it may be prudent for the buying American public to wait and see which company becomes the most popular, with the promise of longevity and continued manufacturer support. But as educators, we must ask the question, can we afford to wait? This is the first question to be asked of the district school board. Another question should be, how can we adequately prepare and educate our students if we're not willing to give them the most current tools available? We as educators must start moving our teaching programs into a more 21st century compatible posture. This includes pedagogy, methodology, and most certainly the inclusion of technology. It is only through these paradigm shifts that we will remain competitive with our neighboring districts. Thank you for reviewing this information on the digital book. Your consideration of this matter is greatly appreciated. Further information concerning the digital or electronic book may be found in the sources listed as credits at the end of this presentation.